Go back.
Two H's or one?
One.
Not yet.
Yep, the hoop got it.
Not the hoop.
And then your game pin
Is that the game? Is that the game pin?
Yep, and you're gonna spin for a name.
Got one in.
Oh, wait, here we go.
BK.
So is that our?
Talking about Wi-Fi.
Oh, that might help.
What is your password?
I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't start that.
Everyone good? You good?
What's the nickname? You put your.
You can put whatever.
Whatever you want to see it up there.
All right. For the spirit of time, we're going to keep going. You should be able to continue entering your name even though we're playing live. Go ahead and hit start. We're going to test your brains a little bit this morning. So you use your phone to answer the questions. Forwards, I'm heavy. Backwards, I'm not. Wheelbarrow, ton, weight, feather. What do you guys think? Use your phone to answer the question. It's all about riddles. Just take a guess. The answer is ton. Forwards, I'm heavy. Backwards, I'm not. Ton.
I'm 2 points behind Big Daddy.
Now, the faster you answer, the more points you get. I wonder whose guy is giving.
Not me. That's not me.
I rarely touch, but often held. If you're witty, you'll use me well. What do you guys think that is? Yeah. Go ahead and skip. Fishman 28 took the lead. I can go up a chimney down, but now not down a chimney up.
Where's Santa? That's what I was thinking.
What'd you say, Tom?
Where's Santa Claus?
We're Santa.
Umbrella. I'm doing really good.
Fisherman.
Big Daddy.
Who makes doesn't need it? Who buys it doesn't use it? Who uses it doesn't know it?
Still trying to figure it out.
Okay, I'm right behind Kelly now.
I'm always hungry, I must be fed. The finger I lick will soon turn red. Flame. I did not. I could not even lie about that. John's mother has 5 children. Their names are March, April, May, June, and Rylan, are you playing?
No.
He loves
Come
riddles.
help me. Your phone isn't working, and I don't have to.
Multiple choice helps on this one.
I heard it.
Oh, shoot.
Bobby got it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Until I'm measured, I am not known, yet how you miss me when I have flown. Time.
Fisherman's on a streak.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that Matthew?
Why is a raven like a writing desk according to a fantasy riddle?
At least I'm not last.
They're all right.
What travels around the world but stays in the corner? Wind, rumor, thought, stamp.
Go back.
What invention allows you to walk through walls? Sledgehammer, teleporter, door, shovel. I guess depending on how you use it, it could be anything for it. A house has 4 walls that all face south. A bear circles the house. What color is the bear? White. All right, let's see who's the winner here. If anyone's knocked Fishman off the podium.
All right.
Who's his owner?
Is that you?
His honor. His honor.
I get the bronze.
So who's Fishman? Buster! All right.
Checks in the mail. Yeah, well, hopefully that won't rain up a little bit this morning.
That's fine.
Great, thanks, Danielle. So a couple of announcements. Just want to thank everyone that donated to the school supply drive. We raised over $500, I think. They were hoping told me yesterday, so that was a successful charitable event. At this time, I will I'll ask Brad to come up and introduce our speaker.
All right, morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Ann Flynn. Ann Flint this morning, sorry. I was getting my notes ready. Ann is the director of Eastern Triad Workforce Initiative and the Gulford Apprenticeship Partners. As part of her duties at the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro. She has a degree from Wake Forest, started her career in insurance and then stayed home and then became an educator at Greensboro Day School. Where you go? She began her career in workforce development 3 years ago and now works with the North Carolina Core Team Partnership for the Advancement of Youth Apprenticeships throughout the state, helping other regions in North Carolina develop their youth apprenticeship programming. Guilford Apprenticeship Partners is the fastest growing youth apprenticeship program in the state, and we're happy she can be here with us this morning. So personally, with CMIT Solutions, we're a member of the program. So for the last year, I think, or so. So I'm happy that Ann was able to join us this morning and looking forward to hearing more about it.
Thank you all. So nice to be here. Before we get started on the PowerPoint, just if you don't mind me asking, has anyone here in the room heard of Guilford Apprenticeship Partners? If you have information here, super. And then one last question: does anyone know of any of our youth apprentices? Have you met any of them? No one. Okay. So maybe if I get invited back another time, I can bring one of the youth with us, because it's really a powerful program. Okay, so Guilford Apprenticeship Partners is made up of 35, I'd say, innovative companies across Guilford County. We've got people, as you can see, from all different types of sectors. This is our group. We're getting ready to add probably about 6 to 10 more members. This is our tagline. We say we have a promising career, college degree, and 0 debt. And that's how we get the youth and the parents really excited about our program. These are some of the industry partners and some of the different areas that we have currently have apprenticeship programs in. But really, you can actually have apprenticeship programs in any type of field that are like highly skilled and highly paid wages. And that's what we look for. We don't look for positions where students are not going to make a livable wage. We're looking for career tracks, places where they're going to make, I think our starting salaries start somewhere between $36,000 and $80,000 our youth start with once they're through with our program. So let me give you a little history about the community, about CAC and how it all started and why the Community Foundation is part of it. So my mentor is Donna Newton. I don't know if any of you know her from the Community Foundation. Well, she was in charge of the workforce initiatives. And about 7 years ago, she was trying to think about what we can do to grow our talent pipeline here in Guilford County. And we have a lot of open positions and we don't have qualified people. So a lot of companies end up stealing people from other companies. And as a result, we're just not growing our own. So she came up with the idea of apprenticeships. She's, in her mid-70s, and she knew that apprenticeships were really wildly popular years ago. But it kind of waned for a while, and really for the last 50 years or so, we've all thought that the way to get ahead was to get a 4-year degree. So this apprenticeship program is actually kind of looking to change that idea. If you look at the PowerPoint, we've grown. So we started with six employers in about 2016 that took the leap of faith that they're going to try to do this youth apprenticeship program. And as you can see from the numbers up there, we currently are up to 35. So we've grown steadily. When we started our first year, we recruited high school juniors and seniors, and we got 14 to buy in and to really say, we're going to do this. Okay, and this past year, we just signed 40 on. Our numbers were swelling, and then we kind of waned because of COVID. We haven't been able to get into the schools in person, but we're still moving along and still moving strong. Industry track. So when we started the apprenticeship program, we started with companies, the advanced manufacturers. They were the ones really hurting the most. So they took that leap of faith. And as you can see, now we're up to other different industries. We have IT cybersecurity, supply chain logistics, auto, service, electrical, HVAC, mechatronics, and we're looking always to add more. This year, we're really excited. We had our first healthcare track with Wake Forest Baptist Health in pharmacy tech. So there's the possibilities are endless. And all of this is part of the Eastern Tribe Workforce Initiative, and what gives us a lot of power is that we've been really successful here in Guilford County, and we've decided to collaborate with 4 counties. So Alamance, Randolph, Rockingham, and Guilford have come together to work to form this Eastern Tribe Workforce Initiative. And what that is really kind of growing our own and increasing our talent pipeline. In 2018, we got a grant of $3.2 million from the state. And recently in 2020, we also got a grant of $4.5 million. And we're looking to ask for, or we are asking for, if the budget gets passed, an additional $9 million over the course of the next 2 years to help with the advancement of not only youth, but adult apprenticeships. So when we go out to recruit, we talk about why you should be part of this consortium. Because really anybody, any company can have an apprenticeship program. It's not that complicated, but relationships really help. So we have relationships with the school system, the community college, the chambers of commerce. They all help, as well as the community foundation, to kind of pull this all together. So we have the power of recruitment and the power of brand awareness. So our program is really pretty a long process. This is our timeline. So it's been proven and it works, but as you can tell, it's long. It's over the course of the school year. So right now we're getting ready to start in that recruitment phase. And so we go out to all the local high schools, anyone that will let us in. So we go to all the public schools, all the public high schools. There's 26 or 28 this year. We have relationships with some private schools, some charter schools, and even homeschool societies. So we recruit high school juniors and seniors. We go through this process, and I'll just let you look at the timeline. You can tell it's long. So what we tell the students as they go through this is probably the longest job interview of your life. The good thing about this, though, is that once the students enter the program, they've really been vetted. We know the students, and they know us. So we have a really good low attrition rate. And so the students are really what the companies are looking for are their future leaders of the company. They're growing their own. It's really unusual to have 16, 17, 18-year-olds on manufacturing floors or in IT companies or in auto shops, in hospitals, but they're welcomed in because really they don't have the bad habits that maybe somebody else might have from another company. So it's really been an effective program, and I kind of direct this whole process. So it's kind of like herding cats. Brad's part of our program. We have 35 companies. We're getting ready to add more, and there's a lot of moving parts with it. Because as companies come in, they have to work with Apprenticeship MC to get their paperwork in, to get their program registered. So our youth, when they get into the program finally, when they go through the process, and they're signed on. We had our last signing ceremony last week. We had 40 youths entering our program, and we graduated our second group of 10. We go through this process, and what I can say is it's really effective. Students are registered not only with Apprenticeship MC in the state, but they're also registered in the Department of Labor.
I have a question. How many applicants do you have to get the week?
This past year, we had about 100 applicants. And when we look at the applicants, we have a certain criteria. So when we go through the process, they have to have a minimum GPA unweighted of 2.8. And they have to get attendance, and they have to have someone from their school sign off on them. So if they meet that criteria, it works. It kind of depends each year. Pre-COVID, we had over 300 applicants, and that's when we signed on 77. There's a lot of students who think they want to do this program. So it really is a couple of things. It not only helps the companies with their apprenticeship program, but it gives the students an opportunity to kind of career exploration. Because what we find in Guilford County is there's a lot of different companies and a lot of opportunities out there, but the students don't know. I mean, just think of it, think of your own children. They know what you know, right? And we do our best to expose them to different opportunities, but there's tons of advanced manufacturing opportunities. And within advanced manufacturing, there's all different types of career pathways that they can go to. So a lot of students don't know what's here. And the whole idea of this program really is to kind of keep that brain drain from happening in Guilford County. We see a lot of our youth heading to Charlotte and to Raleigh, which is great. They'll go there for the 4-year school, but then they stay there, or they go to other places. They don't want to come back to Guilford County. You know, I hear my own children say that Greensboro's boring, is what they say, right? It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place when you have a job. But, you know, as a young adult, there's not as much happening as Charlotte or Raleigh. But if we get them here in high school into these programs where they have a career pathway, they're going to school, and they're going to work. So the way the program works, once they get into the program, like I said, we recruit high school juniors and seniors. So that if they're a rising senior in high school, what they do is they'll go to school in the morning to complete what classes they have to, and then they'll go to work at their employer. And once they graduate high school, then they'll actually be working full-time and also taking classes at community college. What's unique to this program is the students are not just paid for their work time, they're paid for their time at the college. So we have a set wage scale that Brad can probably tell you about. In the past, we've had everyone pay the same wages. As we've been growing and adding different industry tracks, it's not working for us. And with the current wage structure and wage wars that's going on, we've had some heated discussions because we're gonna have to change that. So we're looking to have wage ranges, because really what this is a group of employers that agree to play fairly in the same sandbox, yeah. But you know, basically they're recruiting for the same students. So everybody wants those stars, but they're desperate enough to make it work. So we're respectful of each other. We look for different culture fits. When we go through the process, the students, when they apply, once they apply, we have a very structured invitational process. So during that invitational process, they get to learn more about the companies, we get to learn about them. We do standardized testing, we do interviews, we do group projects, individual projects. We really get to know them. It's a lot of logistics, but it works. And so we've had to really pivot with COVID. We did all of it in person, as you can imagine. And now we've had to do a lot of things online. So the students have kind of bought into it, you know, getting the partners to hire people without ever meeting with them is really interesting. One of our stories from COVID is we had Lincoln Financial, which we're really proud that they joined our program. You know, they're a very strong company and strong presence in Greensboro. Well, they took a leap of faith because not only did they recruit and sign on 3 students, they did that all remotely. So they were remote through this whole time. And so those students not only joined the program and joined Lincoln Financial, but they worked from home, they signed on, and for the first time, I think July was the first time they actually entered the building. So they worked a whole year from home. But those kids are amazing what they do. Their skill set is so amazing. So it works for us. So this is sort of how it ends up. You'll find with the students, they want to make money and they want to learn. So, you know, a 40-hour work week is really not typical. Most of the students work a lot more because they're willing to work. And so the companies get eager minds. It not only helps build their talent pipeline, but it helps them around their current workers. You know, because a lot of these advanced manufacturing plants, excuse me, and a lot of the different industry partners, you know, as people get older, I know myself, you kind of lose some focus, you know, you're doing the same thing, things are not changing, you're heading towards the end of your career. By bringing these young people in, it's really invigorated these companies. And the older people in the company are passing on their wisdom and knowledge. So it really, really works.
So I have a question. Who have a star student, and you have 2 companies competing for them? Who decides where they go?
Okay, so that's interesting. So as you go through the process, the students have some say and the companies have some say as we choose them. So part of the whole process is that the companies have to sell themselves to the students. Like I said, we do have stars, and there are students that maybe 5 companies want them. Well, at the end of our invitational, we have the students fill out a preference sheet. So they rank the companies. And based on that ranking, we actually hold a draft. We have very elaborate rules. So if a student says they want to work for Lincoln Financial at number 1, but say Zilla Bank wants the number 1, we place them with the company. I mean, with what the student wants. Yeah, so we're looking for one-to-one matches. We often have one-to-one matches, but not always. So students have a lot of say where they go, because of course you don't want to put students somewhere where they don't want to go, because they can just turn it down. They don't have to come. So the key is, selling yourself as well.
The 40 different companies, do they get any guidance on what an internship should encompass, or a framework to carry out an internship?
Yeah, so the apprenticeship, there are some guidelines with the apprenticeship NC and what we have too. So basically what you do, if you want to have an apprentice, you decide what occupation you're apprenticing. And so based on that occupation, there are skill sets that that person needs to master. And then you set up a program. So we have related instruction at the community college. So if you say you want a CNC machinist, say, then we will put that student in a certain program at school and also give you guidelines of what skill sets. You probably, if you are looking for that, you probably have that as well. So we kind of meshed it together. We sit down with the community college and apprenticeship NC, and we help with that framework. And different companies do it different ways. So some companies have students, they don't identify, or they have multiple positions that they're apprenticing. So they might take on maybe 5 students 1 year, and they'll rotate them through the different positions that they have and give them a chance to work there and then be mentored there for a few months. And they'll do that for the first year. And then maybe the second year, they'll narrow it down and say, okay, to the student or company, they'll choose 2 that they see that person has an affinity for. And by the 3rd year, they'll really focus that attention. So some companies have 12 rotations, some companies have 5. Some actually, the first year, spend time having the students really learn about, even though they might have a certain occupation that student ultimately will be doing, but they want them to learn everything about the company. So they might have them in, the supply chain. They might have them work in the sales force. Students have a lot of opportunities to learn about the different positions, because oftentimes what happens is a student will start, they think they want to go in this area, the company thinks they want to hire them there, but when they get them there, they realize that, hey, Johnny's not going to be a CNC machinist, he's going to be a welder, or he's going to be a salesman. So they can adjust that. You can change your programming. There's a lot of movement. Currently, all of our programs, except for pharmacy tech, are 4-year programs. So there's, they're getting a 2-year degree, they're getting credentials, they're getting a journeyman certificate. So there's certain things that they have to do to attain that. So we help you with that process. So it really is effective. So these, like I said, are the tracks that we have right now. We're looking to add more. And basically how a track is added is a company comes to us and says, hey, I want an apprentice and I want them for this type of position. What do you have? So we sit down with people at GTCC, we sit down with people at Apprenticeship NC, and we develop a program. So we develop, there's 2 things with an apprenticeship, a youth apprenticeship, is that it needs to be a graduated pay scale. So they need to earn new money, a higher wage each year, but they also have to have on-the-job training as well as related instruction. So they need formal training. It doesn't necessarily have to be at a community college, but that's what we choose to do, because it makes sense. They also are getting a degree. That helps us sell the parents, because we talk to different people in different industries. They don't necessarily want a 4-year degree. They want certain credentials. So the IT track is one that they really, when we first started it, they said, we don't care if they get a 2-year degree. We don't care about degrees. We want credentials. But we found that the parents were averse to that. We're all kind of brainwashed. that, and, you know, you have to go to a four-year college. But with the apprenticeship program, what's interesting is that just because you're getting these credentials and this degree, doesn't mean that you will stop there. So we have two graduating classes. So our first graduating class, we graduated 9, and our second graduating class, we graduated 10. Of those 19 students, I believe 4 right now are continuing on for their bachelor's degree. And the nice thing is, the companies are paying for that as well. So these students actually are getting all of this for free. So all their schooling, all their books, all their fees are paid for by the company. The tuition is not having to be paid for by anyone. There's a state tuition waiver. So when these students get through this program, not only do they have a career path, they have a job waiting for them at that employer, but they've had no debt along the way. They've been able to save money. A number of our students, usually what they do is they'll buy a new car within the first year. They have nicer cars than most of us. You know, they have Hummers, BMWs, SUVs of all sorts. They're all into cars, most of them. And then we have students buying houses and condos. And some of them actually have moved their families out of their current situation. We've had a couple of students who are living in trailers that have been able to either buy a house for their family or help them pay the rent and move them into a better living situation. So we have a lot of success stories with that. It really is life-changing for some of our students. We have students, you know, across the socioeconomic range, but they tend to be middle to lower income, although we have a couple whose parents own companies and they see this as a great deal. So they want their student to run their own company eventually. Well, they're learning from the ground up what it takes to make it work. And so eventually, you know, they'll either be the president of that company they're working for, or they'll start their own because they know how it works from the ground up. So our oldest students, we're just looking at our demographics, our oldest students that have been through the program are 23 years old. And, you know, some of them are making $80,000 a year. They have no debt. It's pretty amazing. So when we talk about why join, this is how we sell our program. But right now, we're not having to sell it anymore. People are coming to us. So we vet our companies. We want to make sure that they are always keeping in mind the students come first, but it needs to be a win for the company, right? Because our students are what it's all about. So we care about it. We care about the community. But bottom line, it helps everyone's bottom line, right? Because we're paying you less, but we're giving this amazing experience. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. So as an employer, this is what, if you wanted to join, this is what you would have to do. So it's pretty painless, I think. It looks a little daunting to some. Some have more bandwidth than others. We try to level the playing field. You know, some companies are a company of one, and then we have companies that have, you know, teams of people. One of our apprenticeship partners actually has about 50 apprentices, and they have 2 designated youth apprenticeship coordinators at their company. That's what they do. They oversee the program. They oversee the students. But they have 50 youth from Gap, and they have about 10 youth from Rockingham County. So we have 60 total, I believe, last time I looked. And they're only a company of a little over 200. So it's a significant amount of their workforce. So they're putting that in because they think it's the future of their company. And like I said, yes.
So that if you're a company that does this, are you obligated to give a job out?
Yes, so that's the thing. So once the students become an apprentice for you, they're like your employee, right? So you can fire them at will, you know, but it needs to be a fireable offense, just like a regular employee. So if they don't show up to work on time, if they're not keeping their grades up, you know, students get let go. But the idea is if they make it through, you're giving them a job, right? So all along, they're earning those wages, they're earning any benefits and salary that other employees, so 401k, paid leave time, all of that students get as well.
You mentioned attrition rate. And I think you were referring from the start to the end of the 1 year.
No, I'm talking about, so our attrition, we expect a certain amount of attrition during that recruitment year. So, you know, even when we start, so we have a pre-apprentice the summer before. So we start recruiting now, and we go through this whole process, and then we draft in April or May. And then the students actually start working at the companies in June. So there's a 6-week period in June. So we still, even though they've gone through that whole year-long process and they start in June, we still lose some students there.
So that means that, what is your approximate attrition rate?
So during that summer, we probably lose between 10 and 15% of the students. But then once they're in the program, right now, last time I looked, we had about 90% attrition, staying power. So we were losing about 10%.
Okay, and then once they're employed, has there been any tracking of attrition compared to the norm?
Right. So the attrition rate is a lot less once they're in this program, because you know, most of us, you know, who do hiring, you don't go through this when you hire people. You don't interview them. You don't have them fill out applications. You don't meet them, have so many different touches along the way. So it really is a lot. You have them jump through a lot of hoops to get into the program. So that's why we feel like it's more of a success. And they are young people, so they can change their minds, but you can change their minds. Like I said, there's a graduated wage scale. Currently, and we're having to adjust it, what we've done in the past is currently pre-apprenticeship was $9. The first year was 10, the second year was 11.50, third year was 13.50, and the fourth year was 15.50. But that has gone completely with different things. So we've lost some students due to the fact that our wage scale hasn't kept up. So we have an agreement that everyone signs, and we're getting ready to put something in place where the pre-apprentice in year 1 will be the same, and then we're gonna have ranges for years 2, 3, and 4. For instance, HVAC, their wages are totally different than other industry partners because there's so few people with that skill set. You know, I don't know if any of you tried to get your air conditioning fixed commercially or, you know, personally, but there's lots of issues there. So we've got the inside track, you know, a lot of times the students will get a skill set in 2 years and they can get double what we were paying them. So we're having to adjust for that. And like I said, we just had our official signing ceremony. We give out 40, we call them scholarships, over $5 million. And that's calculated based on their earning and their wages. So we say, you know, Guilford Apprenticeship Partners is made up of 35 innovative companies in Guilford County who are looking to increase the talent pipeline for themselves, but also across the community, because we know we're going to lose some students. We had, of our 19 graduates, 18 are still here. One actually decided to take his credentials and move to California, but he told us that from the beginning, you know. So it's a leap of faith on both sides, but it works for us. It works for the students. It's a great program, and like I said, it helps our bottom line, but also helps the community. And that's what we're looking for. Any other questions? So I brought some brochures and some face masks with our logo. I'll leave out here for you all. If you're interested or want to spread the word, if you know any high school juniors or seniors that are interested in any of those industry tracks, we have a website, gapnc.org. Tell them to look there. We update our things there. We've gotten a lot of publicity, and we're hoping to sign on. We'd like to sign on 100 this year, but we're not sure with COVID what the hell. So, thank you.
Those are probably all my tickets. Who's not buying tickets? I'm buying all the tickets. Okay, so we're going to announce the number?
Last three.
Last three. I think it's 858. Yay!
Yeah, I got the discount.
Okay. Save her $1,000.
Oh, it's still on the hunt.
Still. Great, it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah, get there.